I'm going to get back to my example again. Something I call the gold coin example. It's basically this little story. I actually made this up just to illustrate a point. Some years ago I came up with this. But it was just to illustrate a point about something. How many times when we're not told the whole story, which is 99.9% of the time, in fact maybe even 100% of the time, in all everyday life, not like somebody's purposely hiding things, but we don't know everything. But our minds fill in gaps whenever there's knowledge that we don't have. You know, whenever somebody's telling you a story, you ever think about what you don't know? You don't. If I told you, for example, I have a car, and I used to park at the parking garage right across the street from where I work. And I used to pay like $14 every pay period. You know, and that's just, the thing. Well, you don't know a lot of things every pay period. How long was my pay periods? not my menstrual periods, my pay periods. They were like, for every 2 weeks. Okay. But you didn't ask that because you didn't care. You don't even know what kind of car I had. Because you don't care. It's not necessary. The parking structure, what did it look like? Was it like a big type of thing that was like 14 stories tall, 4 stories, 3, 8? You don't care. Details aren't that important. Your mind, however, creates images. You know, it's funny how you always create an image of something, even when people didn't tell you the details. Like you might think that the car I was driving was a Cadillac. Or you might think it was a Honda. You might think it was a Honda hatchback. Maybe a Honda Fit. I didn't tell you how long ago it was. It could have been 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 15 years ago. And so on and so forth. But here's the deal. Many times we don't care about the details because they're not important. Except when certain things happen and then all of a sudden we realize if only we had paid attention to all the details. Well, here's my gold coin example, which illustrates a bit of a point. I'm going to offer you $10 million tax-free. I've had it arranged where you get $10 million without having to pay taxes on it. 100% legal, legitimate money. It'll be yours. You don't have to even hide it from the IRS. They already know you got it. And the taxes have already been paid. Because I'm a zillionaire. Okay? Anyway, I'm going to offer you this. But what you have to do is you have to retrieve a gold coin from the bottom of a big, gigantic pot. It's about 2.5 feet deep, filled with water. And the water is boiling hot, sitting on the stove. Now here's what I'm going to tell you. You have to get that gold coin out of that pot. Now, I'm only going to be here for 1 minute. And then I'm going to go. But you have to get that gold coin out of that pot. Okay? Now I'm going to start counting before I leave. And the clock is ticking now. If you get that thing out of there, you get the $10 million. I give it to you in check, cash, however you want it. Okay. So I start the clock and it's ticking and you're looking at it and you're wondering, oh my God, how am I going to get that gold coin out of that pot? How am I going to get it out of that pot? How am I going to reach in there and grab it? So you think about it and think about it and you look at the clock and it's ticking down. You got half a minute and you're down to 15 seconds. And so you say, forget it. It's $10 million. I'm just going to go for it. So you reach your hand in that hot boiling water, grab that gold coin out of the bottom of the thing, pull it out, and you're screaming in pain, but you achieved the goal. You got that coin out of that pot, out of that deep boiling pot of water. Okay, and I'd say, look, okay, you did it. I'm a gazillionaire. I'm going to give you $10 million. But I'm going to give you the $10 million. That's not the problem. I'm going to tell you that there are lots of things I didn't say, and you assumed. One, you assumed you had a time limit. I said I was only going to be here for 10 minutes. I mean, for 1 minute. And then after 1 minute, I'm going to go. I didn't put a time limit. It could take you 50 years. It doesn't matter. That's the first thing. Two, you assumed you had to put your hand in that hot water. You didn't have to. I didn't give any specifications. You could have took that pot, turned it off, waited for 2 days and for the water to cool off and put your hand in it and grab it. You could have grabbed that pot Pour it out of hot water, put some cool water, let it cool off, reach it. In other words, I put no limits. You could have done all these other possibilities, but you assumed that because it was such a large amount of money, and because I said that I was going to leave in 1 minute, that there was a time limit. See, the mind jumps gaps and fills in things that weren't said. That's an interesting thing. We all do that. It's just an automatic thing. It's not even a problem or even a flaw in our thinking. It's just the way all of us think. People tell us things. And there's always stuff we really don't know. And it would actually be inconvenient in normal situations to fill in every little detail. Someone tell you, oh, I went to this restaurant last week and it was a really great place. They had wonderful food. You might not even ask the person what the name of the restaurant. Sometimes you do, but sometimes you may not ask them what the name of the restaurant is because you probably don't even give a shit. Let's get real. You may not even care. There's lots of things you don't know. Just like a lot of people watch me on YouTube, there are tons of things people don't know. You know the stories I've told you, but there are lots of things you don't know. You know, one thing that people know, for example, because they watch my videos, you know I'm diabetic. You know I take insulin. You know I have an insulin pump, which I have it right here. You know that. But, you know, did I say when I was first diagnosed as diabetic? No. And that for a long period of time I hadn't gone to the doctor, which I think I did mention that. And then I went back and they told me, oh, you're type 1 diabetic now. You get it, you know, whatever. And every little detail, and there are lots and lots and lots and lots of other details. When I tell people I believe in God, yeah, you know that, but you don't know all the details of what that is. Believe me, as I said before, people who believe in God would be more pissed off at me than they would be at most atheists, because I'm actually a harsher critic of religion. Because I know a lot of people use religion in a really bad way. There are lots and lots and lots of details about me that I could not possibly tell every little detail. They're not important. They're just not important. But my point is that we don't really fully understand everything, and we don't have to. That's what's important. Being understood and understanding everything isn't important. It's only important, like in that story, when you look back and somebody tells you all the details of the things you didn't have to do. Because you jumped, your mind jumped and filled in these gaps with what you assumed to be true. You took assumptions about what you had to do as knowledge of what you had to do and things you were actually willing to act on. You were willing to put your hand in a pot of hot boiling water. You were willing to get third-degree burns, and you didn't have to. You didn't have to suffer. You could have got that gold coin out, got the $1 million, and didn't have to suffer. And I think sometimes in life that's like a metaphor. We suffer a lot of times when we really don't have to. And that's my point.